One of the best in the business when it comes to burnouts around Atlantic Canada. And we've got him here this evening on Tim's Corner Live. Welcome in to episode number 10. My name is Tim Terry. Dylan Langell, we know who he is. And Greg McKay does not have a hat on tonight. So if you need to adjust your monitors for any sort of reason, he is with us. Denver is off. He had a school project. So I know he's watching tonight, wishing he was there. But yeah, so we are, and we've got a small little, there we go. Hold on here. All right, we love technology when it works. There we go. That works. You didn't do it yet. Not yet tonight. There's still 2 hours. Don't worry about it. Dylan, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. It was a busy weekend. Valley Raceway. You may or may not know that I'm the announcer there, and we're working on the 2021 season. We could have a little bit of a schedule change up coming up soon. So if you saw something on Facebook that may not be as completely valid as before, but with COVID, there's a lot of hoops we got to go through, the safety precautions. But I got to go to the Valley Raceway for the first time in almost 2 years yesterday. So it was pretty special being back at that track. Needs a little grooming. It looks a little sandy right now, but soon enough, hopefully in about a month and a half, we're gonna be back there on May 30th for opening weekend. So pretty jam-packed with some racing, but we got 2 great guests tonight.
Yeah, so breaking news per se, eventually coming down the line. The master schedule on the Tim's Corner website launched last week. It does not have the Scotia Speedworld schedule on it yet, but that did come out last week as well. So that's all new. And speaking about a guy that races at Scotia Speedworld, we keep saying that between the three of us, Dylan and Denver, we usually have one feature winner, but I don't think a staff race counts as a feature win. At least we have a feature winner tonight here in Greg McKay. Welcome in. You got the rookie stripe on the last time, so you're excited. You're doing social again tonight. So how excited are you for this show? Oh, and Greg does not have his sound on. Again, there you go. We're doing well tonight.
All right, well, I didn't say anything worthwhile talking about last time, so it doesn't matter. But no, we'll see how it goes. It's monitoring multiple screens is sometimes harder than driving a race car. So
Well, you've done pretty well in the last couple of years driving the race car, and I know that's what you were talking about, the feature win. I know that's what you were talking about before the microphones muted, so we'll just leave it at that.
It's better if people don't hear, so yeah.
Well, there you go. We are live and interactive tonight. Drop us a comment on Facebook, whether you're watching on the Maritime Pro Stock Tour or Tim's Corner Motorsports. We've got some great guests tonight. Sam Rogers is going to be joining us a little bit later on, but without further ado, let's bring on our first guest, because I know everybody's been waiting for this one. Well requested. Guest on this show, and it's the driver of the number 67 on the Maritime Pro Stock Tour and Maritime Pro Stock Tour champion. And we'll get ready to throw some B-roll up, and you know who it is. It's Dylan Blenkhorn, driver of the number 67. We'll change some cameras around here, and we'll get the champ on, and we'll do some chatting about some racing. And from Truro, Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Great night. You're in the shop at Auto World, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yep. Want to thank you guys for coming on board as well with Tim's Corner Motorsports. It's been a busy off season for you. It's a little bit of a longer off season. You didn't get Black Betty behind you on the racetrack. So how's the winter and how's the COVID season been for you?
It's surprisingly pretty good for car sales. people have nothing to do, so they're still Still out and about actually right now, surprisingly, in Nova Scotia anyway. But the service center is starting to get pretty busy and starting to think about race cars now.
Tire changing, everything else. You guys have been busy on the business side, at least over the COVID period, because you moved what used to be Auto Right down into the same building on Roby Street. So business is great. They can find you on Roby Street. If anything, they need a vehicle, they need service on the vehicle. I need tires, so I'm going to be up in the next week or so anyway. But
you needed tires about probably 8 months ago.
I need all the help that I can get. Let's just put it that way. Let's talk about the season, I guess, because you didn't get racing last year. You guys were ready, almost loaded up to go to Hickory when the COVID pandemic hit. So what's it been like for you kind of watching on the sidelines? There was only 2 Maritime Pro Stock Tour races. There was a couple of Pro Stock races in New Brunswick, but how was it like for you kind of sitting on the sidelines, at least on the Pro Stock side of things?
It's definitely different. As everyone knows, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and it was a long time coming to finally get that championship. So honestly, it took probably 3 or 4 months for me to catch my breath. As the season wound down, I was in the shop 24/7, you could say, just making sure I was making sure there was nothing going to go wrong with the car. The whole team, we really kind of just stepped up, and as you know, it takes a lot out of you, and we did that, and then we were at a small shop in Lower Truro. We had 3 guys with us, and decided to make the move to kind of the main drag in Truro, and started added the addition of selling the car sales on, and it took a lot of time to get everything going. And fortunately, I was allowed. Lonnie asked me to help a few times, so I got out to the track a few times. But it's just you don't realize how much pressure you put on yourself, and the competition level, I guess you could say, that it takes to run up front in the Maritime Pro Stock Tour. So it was definitely it's definitely nice not going to the racetrack and spending your own money, and helping out somebody else. That was nice, but the guys, we all missed it, and definitely everyone's pretty eager to get back to the racetrack.
We are live and interactive here this evening. Be sure to drop us a comment or a question for the 2019 Pro Stock Tour champion. I guess we'll start there and maybe go backwards. You mentioned that championship being so big. You guys have strived for that for many years. How much of a relief was it to go to Halifax, have that little bit of a lead, and then be able to take away that win? Because that race was wild at the end of it, because there was a wreck with like 10 laps to go. Everybody was on pins and needles. What was it like to finally wrap up that championship, even with a little bit of drama in that last race?
I'm always a pretty calm and cool race car driver, but I didn't take a breath until I saw the checker flag and we crossed it. So, like I said, it was a long time coming. It seems like we were pretty close a lot of years, and it's just one of them things. It just felt like we were never gonna achieve it, and it just made it that much more special. My Sheldon, he started kind of getting sick there that summer, so I really wanted to do it for him and then the team, and he got to see it. So I usually stay pretty calm, but I don't think I said much on the radio that race. I know Wade was trying to just get me through the race, get me through the last 15 laps, and I remember it was the last 15 laps. It felt like we ran 300 laps, but it was pretty special to see the checker flag and finally get that for all the guys.
And I mean, when you look at the last few years prior to that too, you had some close calls when it came to racking up wins, obviously, but maybe not necessarily the whole points picture. I think back to I think it was 2 or 3 years before that, you and Cole put on a hell of a show at Oyster Bed, going back and forth, and it wasn't the greatest point night, but it was a hell of a show. Did the mindset change in those couple of years leading up to 19 about points racing, not necessarily going for the win every single week?
Geez, I get asked that question so much in the last 5-6 years, and I mean, as a competitor and a race car driver, you don't show up to run third or fourth or to have a good points night. You show up to get the trophy and the checker flag, but it's always in the back of your mind. It's a lot. You put a lot of pressure on yourself, when you have to, you have to run good, or you have to try to get as many points, leave the night with as many points as possible. And so, John, he ran good that year. It was tough, but it seemed like everything just clicked. I mean, I know we had a few things happen, like we had a halfway through the season, I think we had a pop rivet go through a tire, but we finished the race with 10 pounds in the right front tire. And if that would have happened on lap, 60 or 75, it might have been a different story, right? So it's just kind of everything clicked, and it takes a lot of luck too. But I'm a big believer in, you gotta win the race at the shop. So like I said, everyone kind of stepped up, and I spent, I don't know how many nights I spent in the shop, and kind of took it, tried to leave the Smirnoff Ice in the fridge, and the beer in the fridge, and everyone took it pretty serious. And yeah, that's what it takes. I tell you, like I said, it just seems like it hasn't been 2 years. It seems like it's still, we're leaving. Seems like it's been last season, but just time flies.
With everything COVID wise, it almost like it was last season, because there was only 2 Maritime Pro Stock Tour races last year. We're live and interactive. Drop us a comment, drop us a question. If you have any for Dylan Blenkhorn, the champion, drop them below and we'll get them on. Greg, is there anything on social yet tonight?
We got one here, just one. I mean, I was expecting to be blown off my feet here.
They're keeping it easy on you tonight, I guess.
Apparently, yeah. The last one was stressful. We're going to see Black Betty at the Mike Stevens this year.
Yeah, well, no, that's a pretty special race for a few reasons. But yeah, no, that's always a fun event, and we'll be there, hopefully holding the checker flag at the end of the night.
And don't be shy. If you're watching us, drop us a comment. Let us know where you tuned in from. Hit that share button. Let your friends know that you're watching some bench racing here on a Monday night with the champion, Dylan Blenkhorn. And we talked about the championship. Let's talk about those wins, because you do have a win in the Mike Stevens Memorial. You have an IWK 250 victory. You have a Halifax 250 win. You've got the River Glade International. Is there anything else on the bucket list that you need to do as a pro stock driver to make it complete? Because it seems like you're checking off all the boxes here pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's funny. Terry and I were talking about that tonight. He asked if I'm going to make the truck down to Fredericton for the 250, and we only went down there once. It's a tough place. The guys that have it figured out, they really got it figured out, and it's a tough place to get around. I always found with a lot of people don't know this, but usually during a race I get to take 5 or 6, 7 gravel to so I don't get sick. And I got wristbands I wear. I have motion sickness pretty bad, and I find that place it's just you're always turning, and it's just you can't take a break, and it's physically demanding. And I can run good there for a short period of time, and can never get in a rhythm. I always get in my head, and it's a tough place. And I know, you gotta go to the place to get better at it. But we haven't been a whole lot. The tour doesn't go there anymore, so it's tough to get good there. But I think it's a long track. It's a long truck down there, especially this summer. It's gonna be pretty busy. I checked off a few races that we're gonna go to, but that one is we're definitely gonna go to that one this year. It'd be nice to try to do the Triple Crown, and it's definitely not checked off on the list of races. So we'll go down there and hopefully get Betty running good and go see what we can do down there. But like I said, it's been tough. It's a tough racetrack.
And there's only been one that's been able to do that Triple Crown, and it's Cassius Clark. And it just happened here a couple of years ago. There's a lot of drivers with 2. What would it mean to go up there, especially with what you just mentioned, and try to get that Triple Crown and try to complete the sweep?
It would check off all the boxes. It would be it'd almost be, it'd feel like it'd be complete. Then I'd have to go south then.
And I know you guys were looking at Hickory. You guys had the car ready, almost loaded up, ready to go, and then the pandemic hit. So for those that might be asking, when are you going to make that trek down south? You've done it before with Legend cars. You've been to internationals before. if the border reopens again, do you have anything on your bucket list? Would the Easter Bunny 150 be one of those that you're looking back at again? Has that thought even crossed the mind since the pandemic started?
It has. The whole point of, putting kind of everyone together and going down was because we knew we were going to come down and move to a new location and probably be down here. It's going to take a few years to get it off the ground, and we're going to go down and run a few races, run 2 or 3 races. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. And I mean, in the cards for this year, it's not in the cards, but in the next few years, I'd like to do it for sure. But it's the time and money and it's hard to I can't really take a week off and go racing, right? I have more responsibilities now, and unfortunately, taking a week off and go racing isn't in the cards.
I know we got a couple of questions rolling in on social. Was able to take a look on the other shoulder. We'll let Greg in here in a bit, but I know Brian Acker was asking, how's your father and how's the ankle? How's the leg doing? Because he took that fall at the 250 a couple of years ago. How's he doing?
Yeah, man, and I look up to that guy. He's had a tough go still. He had his last surgery. He had a surgery, didn't heal properly. So it kind of set it back a few more months, and of course with COVID and it's just hard to schedule like the surgeries, right? So, and kind of working around everything, and probably I'm thinking a month and a half ago he had one last surgery, and it's supposed to fix it. So he's still hobbling around though, using a scooter and stuff. It's gonna be 2 years almost, right? So he should be. I think he's allowed to put weight on in about a month's time, but he's still doing it. He's out, and we took the Jeeps out on Saturday, and he still does everything. It doesn't hold him back, but no, definitely a strong guy for dealing with that and not letting him affect anything else. So, but he'll be up and at it this summer for sure.
Hard to keep a good man down. Greg McKay, what's going on social?
I'm impressed with the quality of questions that are coming in right now. We're getting into it now. Jordan,
good.
Vino,
They needed to work you, right?
Yeah, they took the cue. Jordan Vino wants to thank you for schooling him on restarts in the past. I'm assuming that with Jordan being in a pro stock next year, that might continue. Craig Rogers
Jordan's a really good race car driver. I like trying to get into people's heads.
Yeah, by the look of the comment, you got into his head.
Sorry, Jordan.
Craig Rogers wants to know if your patience and thought process and always thinking ahead on the track is coached or natural.
Oh, geez. Louise.
Leave it to Craig Rogers, right?
Yeah, trying to stump the man.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely, I had probably two of the best role models a guy could have. My father and grandfather, I always worked alongside them, but they both have tempers, so I don't know. I don't know. I never, I mean, and as far as everyday life, I mean, geez, I lose my temper all the time, throw things. And so I just, when I put my helmet on, it's just, I kind of just zone out and just gotta, I know, just gotta get the job done.
Half a dozen gravel would do that to you, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I gotta start popping the gravel every morning.
That could be Dylan's advice for new drivers.
But knocking fenders off a race car don't win races. So yeah, that's a good question, Craig.
And
please.
Mark Maxwell's curious how many races you're going to run this year.
Me, I think we got 7 races.
And that's Pro Stock Tour and Opens?
Yes.
And Gary Elliott seems to think you can win at 660.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. It's a tough place. It's tough.
Yeah, Gary didn't get a lot of laps in there last year, but if Gary's up to the task, I'm pretty sure that you can. Want to take a look at that schedule What are you looking at for races? Are we going to start the season off at Petty on the long weekend? You mentioned Fredericton's kind of on your radar for the 250. Is there anything else that you've kind of got on your radar that you want to say right now that the 67 car is going to be there?
Well, geez, I was gonna make I wasn't gonna tell anyone that. I don't know if you'll see us at the first one. We still got a lot of the cars. Well, this car is not ready to go, but the car that's out back in the shop, it still needs quite a bit of work. And what we plan? We plan on starting at the 1st of May. I got a few guys gonna help. See us at Halifax, Riverside. We're gonna go probably do a Petty race to get ready for the Mike Stevens. We were talking tonight about maybe going down to 660, doing a show to get ready for the 250. But that's half the fun of not running for points. You just run. And actually, I was talking to Andrew Hicken too today, and he said, it's a lot more fun. You just show up when you want to and go run a race, and there's no pressure, and you just go and you can kind of take more chances. Because in the back of your head, you're not thinking, okay, well, geez, I gotta run top 3, or I gotta run top 5 tonight, or I gotta try to finish ahead of this guy. Just go and try to win the race. And I think that's, they got good race cars, the 13 and Cassius and Andrew, but that's probably half the battle. They just show up knowing they just they got to win. They're not worried about points, and obviously the results. It shows they run half decent.
I know Braden Langell on social said he wanted an autograph too. I don't know if you can get that. I know he's somewhere in Shuby, somewhere around there, so I'm sure he can drop in.
I got to run to the city tomorrow. Tell him to text me.
Okay, well, he message delivered, I guess. I want to ask you before we let Dylan Langell at you, I want to ask you about the schedule, because we kind of talked about this before, where there's 4 races in that Petty 660 series. There's 12 races on the Parts Trucks Pro Stock Tour, the 16 races, plus you had a PEI Open in there and a Shediac Open, and the couple of other weekends. If you're a Pro Stock team, it's viable now that you could probably go race every single week. You do the 9 to 5 plus overtime job. You're working the business. You've got the team that's working on the race car. From a race team standpoint, how busy is that schedule? And what do you think when you look at that schedule and say, hey, there's 18 races I can go to? From a driver standpoint, you mentioned the non-points deal, but what are you thinking as a driver and as a team owner?
Well, I mean, if we, I got the best guys around. If I said, guys, we're gonna run 18 nights this summer, they would, okay, when do we start? But again, it's we've done it for 7 years, and it's tough. It's there's no way around it. It's a commitment, and it's a lifestyle you have to live, and it's there's sacrifices that are made by everyone, and a lot of people don't see it because it's behind the scenes, and it's from the people that help and the team, and it's and I mean, money wise, it's sponsorship wise, it's a lot of racing. It's a lot of time, and I mean, you can do it. There's for sure you can do it. It's just I feel like we're gonna be better prepared if we can run a partial schedule. We can be better prepared and run better because of it. It's for us to try to run full season. Like I said, the guys would be behind us 100%, but it's I don't know if I could put the time and effort into it that I would want. So we're just gonna go have some fun and try to get some checker flags.
There's a lot of comments rolling in. We're going to let Greg handle some of these, but I did see one from Dan McGrath. He wants to know when you guys are racing golf carts. I know. I heard Dan had a Pro Stock at one point, and he said he was going to put somebody else in the race car. So if you guys aren't racing race cars, when are you racing golf carts?
Man, that's a battle you're not going to win there, bud. I got mine. I was in mine today, so she's still sitting outside. I'll put her in tonight, but yeah, that's something you're not going to win. But you can try if you want to run. We can bring her down. We got Onzo Speedways right down the road, 5 minutes away.
I think we got enough GoPros that we can probably mount a couple to him and put on a show. Mr. Langell, I know you've been sitting over there. I can see the wheels turning. What's on your mind?
I'm just listening to these cool stories, Dylan, sharing about what was going on. And I got a couple of questions, one, I guess, away from the racetrack. So how was it going from driving the race cars to selling cars with your business in 2020? Like, how was that transition going from athlete essentially to salesman?
Oh God, that's there. I was in the automotive industry for since, you could say over 10 years. Ever since I started with my grandfather at the auto salvage selling parts, and we sold the odd car there, and then I guess I transitioned over to the Cat Shack and selling like 4-wheelers and snowmobiles, and then so it's just kind of nice, just kind of what I grew up doing. I don't know I couldn't do anything else. I wasn't tried hockey for a while, basketball. I wasn't good at that, so it was good. And it's Truro's. It's a big place, but it's a small place. And fortunately with racing, I kind of use that to my advantage. We'll put the stock car out front, and the kids love to see it driving by, and a lot of people stop, take pictures. So it's pretty neat, really, to see all the interactions that kind of stock car racing has really allowed me to do.
Do you kind of see that being old school, where you see photos of like the good wrench cars showing up at the McPhee Chevys in Dartmouth? Is that kind of the hook? You want to get like the kids see a race car, they want to go, and the family's going to go too?
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't see that much anymore, right? And we got another car coming, and we're gonna one of the cars is gonna be outside all the time. Actually, I purchased a 2-seater race car from Gary Elliott, and I was in 19 now, 2 years ago. But we're gonna gear it up and do it as the '67 Auto World car, and hopefully, if the COVID stuff allows, we're gonna go to the racetrack and put some of the fans in the race car so they can experience how it is too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to go to the racetrack, or are you going to go down Roby Street in the race car?
No, there'll be a few nights to probably go down Roby Street.
So Dylan, you pro stock racing last year, but you did get one legend race in at Sydney. So how was that going back in a legend car for the first time in a while, or was it a while?
Yeah, no, Greg, he called me up and asked if I wanted to run a car, and it was tough. It was an eye opener. It almost scared me to go back racing again. I was like, geez, these guys. I showed up. I was probably a tenth and a half off the pace, and I thought I was. I think the radio. We were just we threw everything in the trailer, and the radio it wasn't working. I don't think properly. And I come in, and the car felt pretty decent. And I come in, I was like, guys, how was that? And everyone kind of walked up, slow to the car, and I was pretty excited to get back in a race car. And they said, yeah, you're like a tenth and a half. I think Craig McDonald, I think he was quick, but he was like, yeah, you're a tenth and a half off Craig. And I was like, a tenth and a half? I was like, geez, I don't think I got any more in me. I was like, really? And then I think I went over to Craig, and I think Corey Hall was there. I was like, geez, I gotta do something. What am I doing wrong here? Like, the car feels pretty good. And they helped. I know the competition actually helped me out a little bit, and I was still, probably a tenth off. And it was like, geez, these guys, they got it going on. They got something figured out. Maybe they didn't let me in on all the secrets, but we worked our butts off all day, and a week leading to that race, we worked on the race car. But yeah, it was an eye opener. I was talking to Lonnie Somerville. I asked him last week. I was like, geez, I don't know. What if I don't have it anymore? What if ever, because I was, out of it for a year. Setups change, tracks change. he said, well, all the guys, they've been running, they're running the same time, so you should be all right. I said, well, what if the cars got faster and the track slowed down? I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be struggling. But so I'm eager to get to the racetrack, and I always like to try to figure out the next best thing, setup wise, or obviously they're technical race cars. So I'm pretty eager to get back to the racetrack and kind of see where I stand, and hopefully I'm not too far out in left field. And obviously the guys, I got the best in the business, so we'll put our thinking caps on and go to work. Hopefully get old Betty fast again.
Last year, Dylan, did you almost get a sense of feeling missing out once that first Bubble Buster race happened on July 3rd? Did you think, man, I wish I could be there?
I was so busy last year. It didn't cross my mind really. And I had a lot going on too.
Yeah.
I definitely missed being at the racetrack. It was, as I kept, on social media, I kept an eye on that pretty closely. But it was a busy year, and it sucked. I wanted to be there for the fans, and that's obviously what I love to do. I love to be at the racetrack, and I love competition, but like I said, it's pretty. I am pretty excited to get back this year, and really gonna. I mean, everyone's busy this year. Everyone's gonna be busy, but I'm definitely gonna make it a priority to really take a lot of time and make sure everything's good to go when we're ready to roll, like we finished off the 19 season.
On your checklist for 2021, besides a Speed Weekend Fredericton 250 win, what else is on the checklist to feel almost like you won a championship this year, even though you're running partial?
I was talking to Wade, our spotter, and probably last week, and we're just gonna try to win every race, and actually my exact words were, if we're third on a restart with 5 to go, I'm gonna make it 3 wide. So yeah, you can definitely take more chances when you're not running points racing. That's definitely the biggest difference. You can bring it home in a basket. You don't have to worry about next week.
Greg, social media, there's a few questions and comments. They're keeping you busy. What do you got?
On that topic of bringing your car home with a bucket of bolts, Jason Pickles made a good comment here that the Pro Stock Tour guys must be very happy that you're not running for points this year. But with that comment, I can't say that I would want to be racing against you for no points this year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. I think. I don't know. Definitely going to probably take more chances, and I think we're just all going to go and try to have a good time, and probably do what it takes to try to win. It's tough. It's tough. Everyone. It's pretty exciting thing to be able to win one of those things. So we're not gonna run much. So to win, it's gonna be tough. And like I said, we're gonna do probably what it takes to try to win one of them.
So with that, ticket sales should be up if Dylan Blenkhorn's going to enter a race this year, because we're going to get our money's worth. This with you not running full time this year, who would your pick be for a championship of the Pro Stock Tour? Greg Dow's inquiring. I don't know if that's a sign of things to come or what, but.
Well, the 5 car, he's not running. So Cole's gonna be tough to beat. I figure the 9.9 Craig, he's gonna be pretty darn good in the Fury car. Pretty excited to see what he can do. I think he's gonna be, one of the guys I'm gonna be hopefully contending for wins for. I bet you Jarrett's really surprised me at the Derby, so I'm thinking he's going to run really good. So I think it's still going to be pretty competitive. And you get a lot of the guys that are probably, I know Kent. I was talking to one of his sponsors, Donnie. I think he's going to have a pretty good piece this year. So I think the competition level is still going to be there. It's going to be tough. Like I said, I've been telling the guys, it's like, we got to get our ducks in a row if we want to win some races. Noggle, he was really come on strong at the end of the year too last year. So I bet you he's going to be contending for a championship too, and then a lot of race wins. So it's going to be interesting. It's glad I come on here because now I'm getting I'm probably going to. I'm thinking, I was like, geez, all these, I got to start working on that race car. I'm going to get tested.
Find that extra tenth.
Yeah.
Can you find that extra tenth in a paint scheme? Is this Black Betty going to be the same, or are we going with something new?
I don't know if I'd have to ask. I don't know if from data acquisition or from testing, but I don't know if paint schemes make the car any faster or not. But I don't know. I'll have to ask the crew chief on that one.
That'll be a Cy Harvey question. I think Cy knows the answer to that one.
I've had a lot of ugly race cars though. I had a flat black one. I did in the Bandolero days.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Legend car was black and green with white fenders.
Mm-hmm.
That was an ugly one.
Flat black cars are scary because the guy driving it, he means he doesn't care what's going to happen.
He's a badass. He has a flat black race car. He means business. Yeah,
there was a flat black number 3 truck at Scotia a couple of years back that was that was the idea. Paint it flat black and nobody cares what happens to it.
Yep.
I see a comment from Tom Stewart over on the side. He's watching. We're going to talk about another discipline that you do in just a moment, but he's asking about Dylan Langel's Valley Raceway down there. Would you ever strap into a dirt car and go dirt racing down a valley?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about that too today. Racing part-time is gonna allow me to, do some more of that, the side stuff and the fun stuff and more, demolition derbies and then, maybe go down to the dirt track. The stuff that you usually don't have time for when you're racing full time.
With that, Dylan, what else besides maybe going to the dirt track would you be willing to dive into? Would you think about doing a couple legend races, or what else could you be doing maybe?
I don't know if I got any legend races. I mean, they get the cars are so involved. Like it's a lot different. I remember when we broke the 15-second bracket in a legend car at Halifax, and I think they're running like 15 fours now. So I thought a 15.9 was pretty quick in a legend car. I can't imagine picking up half a tenth in one of those things. So no, I always liked the derbies. We'll hopefully get a few of those in this year. I've been away from that scene for probably 2-3 years now. So get a few derbies in and just spend time on the lake, get some boating in, and if I'm not at the racetrack, I'll be doing that and just hanging out with my buddies. It's been, I miss Saturday night, every Saturday, every Friday night, and usually Thursday night. You're in the shop working on these race cars. It's funny to talk, like a lot of my buddies, they're not around cars much, and they can't believe the amount of time and effort it takes. It's not like the old days. You show up and you run the same spring package at 3 different racetracks. It's kind of evolved a little bit, and you got to stay up with the times to run competitively.
We are live and interactive with Dylan Blenkhorn. We got Dylan for a few more minutes. So drop a comment, drop a question if you have one. We are interactive here. We'll get it on the air for you here in a bit. The one thing you did mention, though, was demolition derbies. And obviously last year with the pandemic, no NSPE derby. Exhibition canceled this year. Miramichi's got some. I'm sure Sydney will have some up the road. They've announced a couple. Who knows what will pop up, but one of the most memorable derbies that I remember it, and I know we got some highlights for it here on Paul will pop them up there, is that 2018 derby when you and Kevin Grant, there was only 3 cars, you, Kevin, and Bob, and the end of that derby ended up with you and Kevin going head to head. Kevin was going to retire before that Derby. So we'll just say it was a tie. It was the tie at the end. He's talking about coming back. So what do you remember about those Derbies? Because for those that understand the stock car side of stuff, you've been doing Derbies for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I think my first one was, I think when I turned 16 in 2000, 12 or 13. Yeah, but it's totally different because you spend all summer, trying to keep the fenders on it and waxing the car and trying to make it look pretty. It's just and growing up in a junkyard, that's what you did for fun, right? You take an old $200 or $300 car and you either go to the woods or you take a few of them and run into things. So it's you spend so much time and money and effort trying to make the cars look good and run fast and drive good. It's just a kind of a stress reliever, and maybe that's a good maybe that's the reason for Craig Rogers' question. I'm so calm in the race car. You just gotta do a few demolition derbies every summer and get your anger out there, and so it doesn't transfer over to the racetrack.
Now there's a guy, I'm sure he's still off to the side. We'll bring him in right now. Is Terry still with you?
Oh yeah, Terry's still there. Terry's always here.
Okay.
Terry lives here.
Terry's not shy of a camera.
Terry.
I know that. What's it like going head to head with Terry in the demo ring and then having him on your crew as a crew guy on Saturday nights?
Well, it was funny. There's Terry. Actually, one of my first memories, I just turned 16, so I was allowed to go in my first demolition derby, and I was in the Truro exhibition. Back then, you had 20 cars show up to a V8 demolition derby, and it was pretty good. They had good prize money, and my first derby, and I ended up winning that night. And Terry was in it, and I still don't let him down because he's been running there for probably 20 years and hasn't won there 30 years. So it's a tough one to, like I said, now it's died down because the cars are hard to find, but like back in the day, there's been 20 cars there. Now you don't get much now, but yeah, no, I always bug Terry about that, and I'll remind him too if anyone sees him at a racetrack this summer, ask him about. I think it was 2013.
Yeah.
2013 Truro Demolition Derby. Ask him who won.
The next year, who went and mentioned your front bumper when Tim was officiating, and your front bumper got walked on the next year?
No, I didn't do a very good lap the next year. Everyone ganged up on me a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's what is it, Terry? 104 so far? 105? What are you at for numbers? 102. Okay. And how many victories do you have in there?
29.
Okay, so you still got to keep up to Dylan. You got to get that number up there, right?
Percentages aren't there.
But in Terry's defense, he doesn't bring jewels there. He usually has a parts failure before the demolition derby starts.
I build them that day or the day before and go. How long did you take to build yours?
I take quite a bit of time. I spend a lot of time on mine.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to switch cars before they start, right? Put Terry in yours and get in Terry's, and then you're even, right?
Maybe.
But Terry, what's it like working with Dylan? Because I know you guys work together on a daily basis, but what's it like working on that team? And from a crew standpoint, what was it like to win that championship in 19?
I've always wanted a championship, and I've been around the track since I was 10 years old. My father actually ran a track when I was 4 years old, and it was Downwards Raceway in North River. And it's something I always wanted. And it's really cool that you have your best friend win a championship. You're there helping them.
Now, I know we had a couple of questions on social, and Dylan is gone. I know Dylan can hear us. Waylon Farrell wants to know if the two-seater can make it to the Stonehouse.
The two-seater, we'll have to strap some flashlights to the hood of her, but we'll put a dealer plate on it and we can take it anywhere.
Well, Waylon knows those roads in Truro now. So if it was you and Waylon going on a race down the streets of Truro, who would make it to the Stonehouse first, you or Waylon?
Jesus, that's a tough one. It all depends. Probably who had more Bud Lights, I guess, beforehand.
His car is white. The cops will see it first.
Point. That's true. That's true. Greg, who else do you have on social? What are you seeing?
So you mentioned that Terry has doesn't bring the greatest cars to the derbies, but Craig Rogers said that you made it all the way from Truro to Petty in a demo car because you didn't have a trailer. So I mean,
I drove it there. Yes, I did
That's
drive a car from Truro. I bought it the night before and drove it up the next day.
if you
Is that
can
the
get
derby?
if
Is
you
that
can get
That's
to
not
the
the
track,
furthest I've ever drove a derby car, though.
Is that the one you
I
broke two
actually
hands
drove
in or
a derby
something?
car from Truro to Maitland and won with that derby car.
Is that the one you broke two hands in? The one you went to Petty in?
Yeah,
We don't want to talk about that night, though, do we?
no. Well,
We've got-
actually, Dylan won a sportsman race that night.
So we can talk about that night, just not the demo side of it.
Well, Braden Langell was with us that night, wasn't he?
Yeah, Braden was spotting that night.
Yeah.
Braden was crew chief / spotter that night.
Yeah.
Was he spotting for Terry or spotting for you?
No, Russell got me there, spun me out, but the year before I spun Russell out, so it's fair game.
I guess it's even now. Greg, what else do you got on social?
Tom Sims inquiring if there's going to be chrome rims put on Black Betty anytime soon.
Chrome wheels. I don't know. I think the crew chief might have something to say about that. He's not a believer in chrome wheels. They hold the heat in.
They slow down those legend cars too. You wouldn't want to lose that extra tenth.
Right. Yeah, that would hurt. That would really hurt. That'd be 2 tenths off the pace then.
Yeah, Braden Langell says that the car made it that day, but the driver didn't make it.
Yeah.
And looks like besides Waylon's Stonehouse story, we're running dry here. Keep them coming, people.
Yeah, we got a couple of more minutes with Dylan and Terry. Sam Rogers is waiting in the wings. There's a kid. You used to be that kid, Dylan, that was coming up through the ranks and being that next star. Now you've got kids like Sam Rogers that are going to be those next drivers to hop up into a pro stock. Who else do you see on your radar? You see a little bit of racing. Who else do you see on your radar besides Sam Rogers that would be the next one to challenge you on the racetrack in a pro stock?
Geez, well, I mean, it seems like, I mean, I was out. I didn't get to race against Corey Hall much, but you know, he's definitely gonna be one to probably contend for the win against. But as far as years to come, I'm not really. Geez, I figure Austin, you know, McDonald, he's gonna be in good equipment. You know, he's probably gonna get the seat time and probably learn from, you know, one of the best in the business. So he'll probably be competitive. I don't know, Danny runs pretty good too. I ran against, I think he was beating me actually when in a legend car last year, but he broke. So he's already, you know, them guys already beat me. So it's gonna be pretty cool to see. It's because I've been there and you know, try to get advice from the guys that I looked up to in the tour. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. It's not gonna be fun when they beat me. That's you know, but you know, with the time it's gonna come. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to the competition.
We could go on and on about the rivalries and the good races and the highlights and everything else. I know you and Cole Butcher had a battle back and forth, but I want to kind of go back a little bit to that battle between you and Ben Rowe at the 250 in Halifax, because that one sticks out to me as one of those races that I'm sure you'll remember going head to head with Benji. What do you remember about that race?
Yeah, that was one of my probably. Geez, actually, I remember. I can remember that race like it was yesterday. I think it was the second win I ever had, and I remember just the car was really good. I remember we saved the best set of tires for the second half, and like we led some laps that race, but I remember really trying the brakes started blowing, and I was a young driver and just excited to be there and to run against the guys that I looked up to. And I remember, I think Craig Langell was spotting for me then, and he calmed me down a little bit and got me saving the car and brakes, because we bolted the second set of tires on, and I just thought we were in trouble. But the cars come to life, and I remember there was I think I just got past him. I just passed him. There was a caution, I think, with 8 to go, if I remember. And I remember my father coming on the radio, and he said, geez, I don't remember what he said. He said something about, all right, Dylan, you did good. Let's just try to bring it home. And essentially, he's happy for second. If we run second tonight, he's going to be happy. And I said, geez, I think this car is pretty good. And I think we restarted. First with 8 to go, and it's just kind of, when I get the helmet on, and you just know you can't make a mistake, and we drove side by side for probably 4 or 5 laps, and I heard clear on the radio and got clear, and just the rest is history. It's just kind of it was pretty exciting to win that big of a race, and against a guy that's won the race before, and one of the best. But it's funny when I was racing, like, you can't think you're racing, you're 18 years old, 19 years old, racing against Ben Rowe, and there's a restart with 8 laps to go. When you start telling yourself, if you start thinking about that, you're gonna make a mistake. So you just gotta pretend that all the cars are black and white, and you just gotta go do your job and do it the best way you can, and hopefully come out on top. And we did that night.
And at 250 you won at Riverside. That was the year Mark Martin was here. And if I remember correctly, you weren't feeling that great before you got into the race car that night. What do you remember about that IWK 250 and getting to meet Mark Martin in Victory Lane?
Yeah, that might have been self-inflicted a little bit. Now I remember it was definitely special because Mark was my grandfather's driver in NASCAR, and I remember the look in his face. He walked up to Mark in the pits and got his autograph and looked like a little kid. When he got to meet Mark Martin, they got pictures and stuff, and it was pretty neat, racing against kind of my grandfather's racing idol, and just I remember Thursday night. I remember we were really good Thursday night. And I remember bringing it home, and I think Lonnie, he brought his car home to my shop, and we were working on the cars, and I remember unloading it, and I think we might have redid the grease the bearings and put it back in the trailer, scaled it and put it back in the trailer. I remember I was really happy with the car, and we showed up on Saturday, and we led a lot of the laps, and I just remember I wanted to really make my grandfather proud, and to see him come down in Victory Lane and be able to beat Mark Martin. It was definitely the most special race in my books anyway, to win and have my grandfather there, and he was pretty proud of me. So that was pretty special in the memory bank anyway. I got the trophy. I think Terry's sitting behind the trophy in the office. I keep that one pretty close to me at all times.
Final call on social. If you got a question or a comment for Dylan Blenkhorn, drop it below, and we'll get it on the air. Sam Rogers is coming up next. But I want to ask you one thing before we go back to social one final time, and that's the burnout, because it seems like nobody does burnouts on the tour because of the tire rule, the way it is. When did you start thinking, hey, or did you have to get permission to do burnouts to light those tires up? What's the thought process there? And once you do it once, you got to do it again, right?
That's every time I win a race, or I'm fortunate enough to win a race, you're always going to see a big burnout from me and Betty, because I remember when I used to go to the races as a young fella, that's really all I went for. If the guy that won the race didn't do a burnout, I was disappointed. I was leaving that night upset. I wanted to see a burnout. So I guess the motto behind that is just being a young guy and waiting for the winner to do a burnout. I just want to put on a show for the fans, and it's exciting. It's tough. It's a tough ordeal to win one of these things. And what's more fun than doing a burnout?
And we're seeing some of them on the screen right now. Is there any pressure to outdo what you've done already? Because you've done some pretty A+ burnouts when you've won some of these races. So is there any pressure to kind of raise the bargain?
I don't know. I know sometimes. I remember one time on the radio, I was doing a burnout. I don't know. I forget what race it was, but it went on for quite a while. And my father would come on the radio like, "Whoa! We gotta use these tires again." And there was another time he was pretty close to the car. He was probably 10 feet away from the car, and I was going up to him slow, and he was going like this. But what do you do, right? You see the smoke, you got to keep going. But definitely, if we ever win the Triple Crown, I'll probably, be nice. Probably see a pretty big smoke show.
The Gary Woods will be lit on fire, I'm sure. That'll be
it. I'd like to do a burnout. It's pretty neat when you see the guys in the Cup Series. It'd be nice to maybe blow a tire out. That's the goal, maybe if we win this year.
And I know we don't have Denver Magic here, but he can attest the party on Speed Weekend up there if you do win that race, even if you don't win the race, is pretty big. Ashton Tucker's won it the last couple of years, and I think he was one of the last ones up last year during Speed Weekend. So, Dylan Langell, final thoughts for the champ?
So many good stories, Dylan. I just can't wait to see you back on the track. We missed you. We missed seeing Black Betty race with everyone else at Petty last year so much, and at Riverside and Scotia the one time. How does it feel to be getting back, at least part-time, with the boys and girls racing?
After all this shop talk, I think I might maybe Terry off to see what Terry's doing after this. But we might start going working the thing, getting it ready.
Terry's going to need a good night's sleep, I think. I don't know when he sleeps. I don't know when you guys sleep, but I'm sure he's going to need a little bit of shut-eye. Mr. McKay, what do you got on social? I know Mark Gautreau's over there, and he's looking forward to seeing you back on the racetrack. I want to see Mark Gautreau back on the racetrack because there's a guy that used to be able to wheel a sportsman car. What do you got, Greg?
We can go to a rapid fire here real quick if we're short on time. But favorite racetrack, Dylan? Do you got a favorite racetrack in the Maritimes?
The next one.
The next question or the next track?
The next track. No, I like Riverside because when we ran good there, Riverside was my favorite place. It seems like every time we showed up, the car was really good, and we just we're off. We've been off a little bit there the last 2 years. We've been running good at Halifax. But I got a lot of laps around Halifax. It's nice. I like that, but
no preference.
No, they're all different. They all have a kind of a certain thing you need to get fast, and Halifax, it's been kind of, you got to be able to go make your car turn the curb and not get free in the center, and Riverside, you just got to free the car up enough so you're not rucking free going into the corner and on the brake pedal. So they're all different, right? Petty, same thing. You just got to make the car free enough to make it turn to the center and not get free in. So they all have their own kind of traits that you got to work around, and I just kind of like trying to figure it out and trying to get fast. Like I said, 660 is still haven't conquered that one. We'll make it go with this year though.
I know you said that when you're out there, you only see black and white cars. You don't see anybody else. But is there a driver that is intimidating for you to race against? Do you get intimidated when you see that car in your mirror?
Not intimidated, but there's a few cars I try to stay away from. They're scary to race against, but I don't know. I mean, I like running Cole. I like it's fun to. It's always good to beat Cole because he takes it. You know, he's just as competitive as I am. So, you know, it eats away at him, and you know, the 13 and Andrew and the guys, they're just as competitive. So, you know, it's just I mean, if you start overthinking, like I said, start overthinking things in a race car, that's when bad things happen. So you just gotta go out and you know, like race everyone like, you know, they're black and white, and then not try to choose sides. Just go out and do your thing.
My fanboy moment is when you give Donald Chisholm the bump and run at Riverside back in 2019. You guys were sideways coming across the line. That was a pretty cool moment. Yeah,
that was pretty neat. I was scared. He took it pretty well. We raced, you know, I was on his bumper for probably 40, 50 laps, and you know, it took. He was good. You know, I couldn't pass him, and had to use the bumper, but I figured he was gonna give it back to me, and he was pretty good when we got to the race cars. I was scared I was gonna get tackled by George or maybe Donald, but they were pretty good about it.
My final one is you already mentioned, you touched on the grab all pre-race routine, but do you have a pre-race routine or a good luck charm that you use?
I'm pretty superstitious. Yeah, I do. I have a lot of them.
Care to divulge into it?
Oh geez, it's everything down to underwear to grab all to
you can start there. That's fine.
To what I do the morning of my kind of diet, the night before, or the day before, and it's pretty superstitious. So I don't like everything has to be in its place. Let's say that.
There used to be an equation the night before where you could go out and you could party for X amount for every 100 laps that you run. Is there still an equation there? And has it got a little bit longer because we're getting a little bit older?
I think it was 2 hours of sleep for every 100 laps.
Yeah.
But geez, that's definitely changed because it's everyone definitely gets more sleep now and takes it a lot more serious. Your hydration starts a few days before the race. It's tough.
We're smarter and wiser in our older ages, right? Is that where we're going?
Well, I remember back, you know, when that was my theory. And I remember, you know, I had a cool suit and, you know, pumps water through your shirt, and then I had a fancy, you know, a helmet blower that probably weighed 15 pounds and blew cold air in your helmet, and then I kind of started changing my diet a little bit and getting more sleep, and now I run a little 2-pound brake blower to my helmet and got rid of all the other crap and probably saved 20-30 pounds of stuff trying to cool me down. So I definitely changed my ways, Tim, a little bit. Definitely try to get a few more hours of sleep.
I know you don't do this alone. We talked about Terry a little bit earlier on, but who do you got on the crew for the 2021 season? Who makes it happen for you? Who do you got for sponsors?
No, God, it's all starts with people. We got Wade in the spotter stand. He does a hell of a job. Keep me sane. Usually, most races. We got Terry here. Jim was always on the team. Always helped me, you know, at nights and stuff. He was my neighbor for years. We got Stewie and then Brent, and they do the tires. And you know, obviously the people that make it happen. My father, he's definitely there every weekend. My mother, they're huge supporters. Who else? We got well, obviously the sponsors. My grandmother and both my grandparents have. Without them, you know, this racing thing definitely, we'd be racing, but we wouldn't be in the equipment we are. And Auto World and all the guys at the shop that kind of allow me to run the show. Well, you know, I take time off and race this summer. I apologize in advance. And then Tony, I know Tony be listening right now. Quinn Flooring, they've been just not only just a sponsor, but a really good friend. You know, you could say family now. So, and I think we got Lonnie Somerville. He's gonna be the crew chief this summer for us and come down and help us work in the car. And he was with us a few times in 2019 and it's definitely nice to have another set of eyes on the race car and then have his experience. It seems like the day kind of runs smoother with him, but just all the people that's helped me get where I am and probably definitely missing a few people, but it takes a lot of people. And you guys know it's just people. You can't. It takes a lot of people and a lot of support and to run at this level and to be able to run good. It's really rewarding and look forward to doing it in 2021.
This has been a blast. Thank you for taking some time out to join us this evening. We could go on and on. We never even talked about the Legends and the Bandolero days. We'll talk a little bit about that with Sam Rogers, but thanks for being a part of it. Thank you for Auto World for coming on board as well with the TCM crew in 2021 as well. And give a little note to Glenn that I'll probably be giving him a call for next week. Thank you for being a part of this.
Awesome. Appreciate it for having me, guys. It was fun. I definitely, I think we're going to start working on the car now. So definitely has me in racing mode.
There you go. That's Dylan Blenkhorn, driver the number 67. And we're going to move on and get a hold of Sam Rogers, driver of the number 12 in the Legend car. We're showing some Bandolero highlights right now. So
did I forget anyone?
And there we go. We're on with Sam Rogers. Sam's audio's connected. That's good. Sam, welcome to the show.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me.
What are you most looking forward to in this 2021 season? I guess we'll start off there because you unlike Dylan Blenkhorn that we just had, you did a little bit of racing last year. So what are you most looking forward to in 2021 as we get this season started?
I'm definitely excited to get back to the racetrack. I'm excited for the larger schedule this year, hopefully, if COVID can remain under control. And we'll get to go to more racetracks more frequently and hopefully have a good year.
Now, I know the car was for sale at one point. Is the car still for sale? Is it in the shop? What do we got for plans this year?
The car was for sale for a little bit. I'm not sure if it's still posted or not, but the car is in the shop, and I will be racing the car this year for the 2021 season. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
And it's good to see the 12 car back on the racetrack this year. We'll start at the front, I guess. By the way, we're live and interactive here on Facebook. So if you're watching us on the Maritime Pro Stock Tour page or on Tim's Corner Motorsports, drop us a comment and maybe a question for Sam Rogers. Your racing career hasn't been as long as some of the other guests that we've had on the show. We had Rick Cashel on a couple of weeks ago that started in the 70s. But how did you get your start in racing here? It's been about 8, 9, 10 years, thereabouts, right?
Well, I started racing when I was 11, and I'm 17 now. So originally, I used to have a dirt bike, and one time, our neighbor, Perry Murphy, he always used to go to the races. He still does to this day. And one day, I decided to go with them, and we were sitting there watching, and all of a sudden, these Bandoleros came out on the racetrack. And I found out that they were kids that were my age that were doing it. And I watched the races. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. So I went home and told Dad about it. Dad didn't really know much about car racing at that point. And he said, well, if you find one, we'll sell your dirt bike and we'll give it a try. So I looked on Kijiji, and I seen Craig McDonald's old Bandolero was for sale on Kijiji. So I showed Dad. I was super keen about getting it, wanted to try it. So we sold my dirt bike and bought the Bando, and I guess the rest is history.
And you had success when you stepped into the Bandolero. Correct me if I'm wrong. You had a couple of races at the end of one of the seasons and stepped on full time the next. But let's talk about the success you had. Rookie of the Year at Scotia Speedworld. Started picking up a couple of wins. And this is really before this beginner Bandolero division really started at the racetrack, right?
Yeah, so when I started racing, I was in the bandit division, but there wasn't any beginners, so I was running against Josh Langell, Austin McDonald, Nathan Langell, all those guys. So I didn't really have much of a chance to kind of just start out and roll around the back. I kind of jumped right into the mix, and fortunately we were able to be somewhat competitive from the start. And then as the years went through, I'm kind of glad that there wasn't a beginner class, because I learned so much running against those guys and competing against them every week. So yeah, there wasn't any beginner class for me, but I think in the end I'm definitely glad that there wasn't.
And what's it like to step in and race with those drivers that had a little bit of experience? Your Josh Langells, your Austin McDonalds, those kids that, you know, had a couple of years on you. What was it intimidating in those first couple of races to try to compete with those drivers, and then at the end of the season be up and be competitive and taking wins from them?
Yeah, I mean, the first time on the way to the racetrack, I was really intimidated. I think I even told Dad to turn around. I didn't want to go. We were late. We missed practice. We got there, and yeah, before the race, I was pretty intimidated. And for the first half of the season or so, I still was, because these guys had a lot more experience than me, and they were faster than I was. But I think at the same time, it kind of turned into motivation for me to want to be up there and be able to compete with those guys.
Cut your teeth racing at Scotia Speedworld, but then you kind of branch out and do some other racetracks like the Bandolero kids do. You had a lot of success at Petty International Raceway too. What do you remember about that first race at Petty? Because that place can be intimidating for the first time. Yeah,
the first race I had at Petty, actually, I think I went about one lap, and I got up into the marbles and turned 1 and 2 and hit the wall. So it was a rough start at Petty, and I think we came back and ran one more race that year. It was towards the end of the year we went for the first time, and then we ran it the full time next year. But no, I definitely enjoy Petty. It's one of my favorite tracks to race at. It's fun, and yeah, we were fortunate enough to have some success there too.
We are live and interactive on Facebook tonight. Keep Greg McKay busy if you're on social media. Drop some questions and some comments. Greg, is there any early returns for Sam Rogers?
I was just waking up from my slumber there. Tom Sim, thanks for tuning in here tonight. He wants to know why you run the 12, Sam. What's so special about number 12 to you?
When I first started running number 12, I guess there wasn't really anything special about it. I was 11 years old, so it wasn't like I was 12 years old or anything. I don't know. I was number 12 a few times in hockey, and then we jumped into the racing, and I thought might as well go with number 12, I guess. I like the number. It's kind of stuck, and I'm glad I chose it.
Anything else you're seeing on social so far, Mr. McKay?
No, we're pretty slow. We'll have to pick up the pace here, people.
Come on, folks.
Yeah,
it's Sam Rogers.
It's Sam Rogers. I mean, they're still getting over the Dylan Blenkhorn hangover, I think is what it is. You're from Truro as well. Dylan talked about it being a small town and everybody getting involved in racing. You've had your success. You've been able to see some of that in the small town. How cool is it to be from, the Lower Onslow, Truro, Colchester area and see that success and be able to bring it home to an area like that?
No, it's definitely cool. You know a lot of people from around here, and surprisingly, there's actually quite a few people from here that do go to the racetrack and are involved in racing. I mean, R&D Performance is right down the road for me. So now once you get involved in the racing community, there's a lot of local support, just even within my hometown here. So no, it's definitely pretty cool for sure.
You always remember the first win in the first championship. Let's talk about those first wins. What do you remember? Because they came early in your racing career. What do you remember about that first win?
I remember the first win. It was my first year. And I think I think Josh Langell and Austin McDonald both had the 2-win handicap rule that Scotia Speedworld does. So the car was working good that day, and I started up front. And I remember the last few laps, they were right on my bumper pushing me, and I was just thinking to myself, I can't mess this up. And it was definitely nerve-wracking, but once I crossed the finish line, it was just almost a sigh of relief. And yeah, I thought once that happened, I thought to myself, like, wow, I'm competitive and I can do this. So no, it was definitely a big moment for me.
You've won championships, track championships at 2 racetracks at Scotia Speedworld and Petty International Raceway in the Bandolero. What do you remember about those championships? Because those championships are hard to win once, let alone multiple championships at different racetracks. What do you remember about those chasing those points?
I definitely remember those championships. I also remember how close the point battles were every week between me and Josh and Nathan and Austin. There was no shortage of competition. The year I won the Scotia Championship was my second year of racing, and it was before they removed the curb out of the front stretch, and that's still to this day my favorite racetrack configuration is when they still had the curb on the front stretch of Scotia. It made for good tight racing, and it was really technical, so you couldn't just wash up out of the corners. And we had a pretty good year that year. I think I won 8 of the 12 races that they put on that year, but still the point gap was very close because me and Josh went at it pretty near every week, swapping out. So no, I definitely remember that one for sure. It was a special one for me.
Talking Bandolero days and with the different racetracks, we haven't mentioned Speedway 660 yet, but Bandolero Blast a few times over a champion up there. It's Speed Weekend. It's a huge event. What do you remember about those Bandolero Blast race wins? Because the end of them, there was a couple of races where you had to perform in order to take that overall championship.
Yeah, no, I love Speed Weekend. The Bando Blast is one of my favorite events in the Bandolero for sure. I remember my first time up. I haven't been there before. There's a bunch of cars. Braden Langell was actually back in the Bando that weekend. And in practice, everyone was so close. And I remember the heat race, me and Michael Cormier swapped the lead, I don't know how many times back and forth. And then in the feature, I was inside the top 5, and we were all just kind of trading back and forth. And then Braden had a problem with his car. I remember getting to second and then getting to the lead and just trying to hold on. And I remember after winning that first race at 660, that was probably my most memorable win in the Bandolero, I'd say.
And a couple of more to follow as well. That event has really taken off, and the Bandolero division in total has kind of taken off. The other memory, I guess, and we kind of transitioned to from what we're seeing on the screen at 660, and you did a lot of racing down south, and one of the last races that you did in the Bandolero was in a bright yellow 18 car down at Inverness at Winter Nationals. What do you remember about that week? Because it almost looked like for a while you were going to take away that championship. They took away the qualifying points, and you ended up a little bit down on the scale, but you won a couple of races that week. How huge was that?
Oh, that was an awesome week. We were fortunate enough to take the 18 car, Josh Langell, to take it down south. It was originally, we had a for sale sign on it all week. It was originally supposed to go down and run it and hopefully sell it down there. But after a few races, they decided that they didn't want to sell it. No, we had a great week. I think we qualified on the pole all 5 days of racing. I won 2 of the races. And then on the Thursday, I was leading and we blew a motor with, I think, coming to 2 to go or coming to the white flag. And, but originally, like you said, they were awarded qualifying points, and qualifying on the pole helped me for that. And I was still, I think I was still first or second in the point standings. But then Thursday night, they decided to pull the qualifying points, and that dropped me down a few positions. But we were able to switch the motor out and Thursday night come back and win Friday. But it was an awesome week in general. It would have been nice to get the point standings. I think we still ended up finishing 3rd overall. But no, that was just a great week. Very fortunate to get that opportunity. And yeah, it's always fun racing down south.
Now, there was a couple of years before that you went down south, and I know Paul's got the picture. We'll pop it up on the screen of you racing for Woody, Chris Woods, and one of the first years you were down there racing. What do you remember about working with Woody?
Oh, Woody's definitely a special guy. It was definitely entertaining all week. It was a lot of fun. That was our first trip down south, and no, we had a fun week there too. I think we got a couple top 3 finishes, and that was back when Winter Nationals was out of Orlando. No, that was a great week. Woody taught me some stuff. We had a lot of fun.
There's a couple of stories I think I can tell of that week. It surrounds your father. He can get pretty wired at a racetrack, because I remember, I think it was the first or second day, Woody came over to me and said, "You need to take Craig and go somewhere." I was like, "Okay, where are we going to go?" He said, go somewhere and go grab something to eat. Okay, I'm not hungry, Woody. Go anyway. So me and Craig went down to Zaxby's, and that's where the chicken sandwich story started, where we always ask about chicken sandwiches and what he's eating at the racetrack. So I'm sure he remembers that, and I'm sure he's watching in the comments, and I'm sure Greg's going to get lit up here in a second. But and then there's a story about, I think, the rental house and him falling asleep and falling backwards and waking up on the other side. But we can tell Craig Rogers stories all day long, and I'm sure we're going to tell some by the end of this. But the Bandolero days, is there anything else in the Bandolero that we haven't touched on that you remember as one of those, either the races or memories of those Bandolero days?
There's countless memories I have from the Bandolero days. We had a couple really good years in the Bandolero, whether it was racing down south or coming back, winning the championship at Scotia, the Bando Blast, Petty. When we went to Shediac that one time for the Atlantic Championships, that was a fun race. No, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of good times and good memories in the Bandolero, and experience a bit of success. And no, I miss it to this day. Still, sometimes I wish I could go out and hop in a bando and go around, but no, I definitely had a lot of good times for sure.
Is there anything that was left unchecked on the bucket list on that deal that if you had a shot to move back into Bandolero, you try to get done?
I think we've won a championship at every track around here, except for PEI, but they didn't run the Bandoleros back when I raced them. The thing that still bugs me though is that Winter National Championship in Florida, because 2 years we went down and we've won 2 races throughout the week, and then had something happen, either a wreck or like last time blowing a motor. Now I would have liked to win a Winter National Championship in Florida with the Bando, but we still had quite a bit of success down there, and I'm still very happy about it. Greg
McKay, what's lighting up on social media?
Braden Langel's over here throwing shade.
What's he saying?
He wants to know. This seems like it might be a touchy subject, but he wants to know when Sam's finally going to win a race. But from my perspective, last year, I was pretty sure that the 12 car passed the finish line ahead of the 51. I'm just saying, I could have been.
Whoa! Didn't you drive the 51 car to a win?
Yeah. When last year when my car was torn out, Braden offered me his car for a week, and we went out and won in his car. That was my first win at Scotia in the Legend. And then the last race of the year, I think, if I remember, we won that as well. Braden spun the tires in the speedy dry off the start, and he followed me all race. But no, Braden's definitely the one to beat in the Legend car. You know, he's fast wherever he goes, and it's always fun racing with him. He's very competitive, and it makes for some good racing.
He's got too many muscles now. He's getting in too good a shape.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to fit in the car this year or not.
That was the only race that I believe he lost last year at Scotia, was with finishing second to you.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's going to be some more light up on social media. So if you're out there, make Greg busy. Drop a comment, drop a question. We're here with Sam for another 20-ish minutes or so before we switch gears on the Bedane TV side and go to the Sim 500 Trans-Service Cup Series. Dylan, what do you got over there? I know you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I guess I might be bumping ahead a little bit because we're kind of going chronological there, Sam, in your career. But I want to ask you, about that first Sydney weekend we had in 2020. We had a lot of fun up there. That was probably one of the funnest race weekends. But as a competitor, how was it racing in front of an empty crowd pretty much? Except for a few passionate capers in turn one, there was hardly a soul in the grandstands. Was that a little weird once you were on the podium?
Uh, it was definitely different considering that it was one of the first times that you race in front of an empty grandstand. Um, I don't know. It's pretty cool to race against a full grandstand of fans or however many there are because they're up there supporting you. And it's definitely a cool experience. But Sydney was definitely different. It was a fun weekend, though. We had a lot of fun up there. I actually called in sick to work twice that weekend so I could stay up and race. But no, that was an awesome weekend. Great bunch of guys up there. The racing was good. I love that track. It was like a track I've never raced on before, and it made for some good racing too. So no, I'm excited to get back up there again this year.
That was such a fun race to watch with you, Braden, Owen, Danny, just the young guns. Pretty much, you guys put on such a great show for the TCM online. I think you went from second to sixth. You guys were bouncing all around. So how was that race for you when you guys were swapping positions, almost like a restrictor plate race?
Yeah, it was really competitive. You know, you hit a bump or make a slip up and you hop up on the outside, and all of a sudden 4 or 5 cars go by you, and then you gotta work for it to get back up. I love racing like that, nice and close and tight, and you really got to hit your marks and make sure that you do everything right to stay ahead of the other guy when you're so close like that. But no, we ended up coming out of that weekend with some good finishes, and like I said, I can't wait to get back up there again this year.
Now, do you have a new job, or were you fired from the other one? Are you going to be able to get a few off weekends this summer?
No, I still got the same job, fortunately.
For now.
Yeah, for now. I just got to make sure I give them the weekend schedule a week before, and they're usually pretty good with getting me off. Now, fingers crossed that they don't find out.
Well, you mentioned there, Sam, when we started that you're looking forward to a busy year. Am I going to assume you're doing the tour, Scotia Speedworld full time? What's on the plate for Sammy Rogers this summer?
I'm not 100% sure yet. What we'll be running. I'd like to run the Legend Tour for sure. I think that's the main priority for us this summer. But I'd also like to get out to some weekly shows at Scotia as well. It's not that far from where we are, and I like that racetrack. But I'm not 100% sure how much racing we'll be doing, but I would like to run the tour for sure.
That tour has a who's who of past champions. You're looking at guys like Cole Butcher, Jared Butcher, Dylan Blenkhorn, Waylon Farrell, Braden Langell, Justin McNeil, Scott McLean, I think won it back in the day. List goes on and on. What would it mean to add your name to a champions list like that on that Maritime League of Legends tour?
Oh, it'd mean a lot to me. The competition week in and week out on the Legend Tour is really good, and there's a lot of fast guys. Especially this year, there's going to be a lot of fast cars. No, it'd be huge to win the Legend Tour championship. It's definitely something that I'd like to do. And yeah, like you said, all those past champions. There's a pretty good list of good drivers for sure that I'd like to earn a spot beside them.
Now, you move from a Bandolero to a Legend car, obviously, with going to 660 and going to Petty Raceway and going to some of these other racetracks. It kind of prepares you a little bit. I'll ask about Riverside, because I know that'll be on Dylan's mind over there too. What was your first thought when you rolled into Riverside International Speedway on a Legend car?
Looks only tells so much of the story until you actually get on the track with your own car. No, it's a blast. I think the first time I was ever at Riverside, we went down for practice day Wednesday, and someone blew an oil line in front of us, and we went into turn 3 and just went straight and knocked the right front off the car. That was my first experience with Riverside, and we took the car back, and Craig Langell fixed it up and welded it for us, and we were able to make it back Friday night, and I had a lot of fun there. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks in the Legend cars. It's fast. it's high banking, and it's just a lot of fun.
I'm kind of impeding on Greg's turf here, but I see a comment from Robbie Vandenberg saying Daniel wants to say thanks for selling him your car and giving him all the help. We're kind of bouncing around in between subjects here, but 5-6 years ago, you were that kid that was just stepping into a Bandolero and racing against, you know, the Austin McDonalds and the Josh Langels and the Nathan Langels and those kids that have been in it for a while. Now you've got Daniel Vandenberg and these Chase Livingstons and Sam McDonald's and these kids that are coming up through the ranks, not letting all the information out of the bag that you might have given Daniel, but what kind of information can you give a young kid that might be starting in Bandoleros or just got their feet wet, getting into this sport, knowing you were there a few years ago?
I think the best advice to give to an up-and-coming driver in the Bandolero class is to try to keep calm, keep their cool. There's gonna be weeks where it's just not gonna go your way, and you're gonna be expecting results. And I think the best advice is just to try to keep your cool and just concentrate every lap on hitting your marks, being consistent and smooth, and yeah, just stick with it, I guess. I mean, you're always gonna have the 1 or 2 rough weeks in between, but once you get out there and everything works in your favor and you get to run up front, it'll all pay off for sure.
You've been able to see some of that talent racing. Obviously, you're with the Legend cars, so you're concerned on that. But you've been able to see some of the Bandolero racing. We mentioned some of those names. Brett Pashkoski comes to mind as well. Daniel is one heck of a shoe, especially with the limited experience that he has. Is there anybody else that you kind of see on your radar that might be the next Sam Rogers and start lighting the lamp winning races?
Well, Daniel for sure. Daniel's impressed me since he got in the car, and he's just improving more and more every time he's on the racetrack. No, Daniel's been doing really well. There's I think there was quite a few different winners in the beginner class this year, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of good talents coming up. Being at the racetrack with your own car, I haven't gotten to watch as much Bandolero racing as I'd like to, but yeah, Daniel, Chase Livingston, Brett Pashkoski, all those guys look like they have bright futures.
And we're kind of bouncing around in between subjects again, but that Young Lions division at Scotia that debuted last year, you didn't get an opportunity to really get into that because you're a couple of years older than a Young Lion. But for kids like Gage Gilby and Chase McKay and Owen Marr, Danny Chisholm's kind of at the end of that age group. But how big is that for them? And how much do you wish that would have been around a couple of years ago when you were racing a Bandolero wanting to go to a Legend?
Oh, well, it seems like that everything seems to happen the year after I'm too old for it. I think the next year after I started Bandolero racing, they introduced the beginner class, and then the year after I turned 16, they introduced the Young Lions class. No, there's a lot of good drivers in the Young Lions class as well, and I think at Scotia they run us all together in the feature, but even in the heat races when they run them together. You're running against people your own age who have similar experience to you, and I think it's a good class for sure. I also think it's a good idea to run them with us in our feature at Scotia because, I mean, I think there was 5 or 6 Young Lions last year, and when you add them to our car count for the main event, running with all those other experienced guys just helps you learn so much more from them too, and I think that them getting the opportunity to race by themselves, to be competitive with themselves, and then being able to run with us in the main event just helps them even more. But no, a lot of those guys are very competitive when they step up and run with us too. Danny was quick. Colton had a good year last year. Gage and Chase are both impressing me still. So no, those kids have bright futures too.
We're live and interactive here tonight with Sam Rogers. If you have a question or a comment, drop it in the comments section on the Facebook page, whether you're watching on the Maritime Pro Stock Tour or on the Tim's Corner page. Greg McKay, what do you got? Because I know there's a couple on there.
The real question is, Derek Hilchey's tuning in tonight. We'll say hello to him. But where is Craig Rogers tonight? We know Sam's here, but is Craig sitting behind you giving you advice on how to do this interview?
Craig's over there watching it on the other computer. They just monitor me, I guess.
Giving you advice every step of the way, making sure.
Yeah, him and Kerry Murphy are down here watching the broadcast.
Oh, you got a full house.
Yeah.
Tell them to get their makeup on, because we're going to bring them on camera at some point. So tell them to get their makeup on now, because I know with Craig it takes a little while. Perry's camera ready whenever we put him on there. But
Yeah.
What else you got, Greg?
What do we got here? We got. I mean, you've been in some wrecks, Sam. Do you have one that sticks out in your mind that, let's say, defined your career, or that was a kind of a game changer for you?
Yeah, I've had my fair share of smashes and bangs. I think my most memorable record, the one that hurt the most, was probably at Petty Raceway. I'd come off a turn 4 and spun out, and Nathan Langell was coming through 3 and 4, and I was at a dead stop, and he didn't see me until he had already exited 4, and he T-boned me, and that one hurt, but it hurt the car more than it hurt me. But no, that was a big wreck, and another big wreck that we had was at Petty, the championship night. We went off into the tires coming at a 4, and Greg, yourself, we were fortunate enough to have you to come down and weld us up, so we were able to go out for the feature, and we ended up winning the championship out of it. So we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Yeah.
Sounds like you had a lot of people welding on your car.
Yeah, there's definitely some extra weight added to the chassis.
Craig Langel's chiming in here tonight too, and he says it's obviously bad advice that your old man's yelling behind you.
Yeah, I have these earbuds in, so I couldn't hear him even if he was saying anything. I think it might be for the better.
We're pretty quiet over here, Tim.
So yeah, we've got a couple of more minutes, so drop some comments, drop some questions down there. Dylan, what do you got?
Man, what do I got? Well, Sam, I mean, you're a young gun, 16, 17 years old. What are you eyeballing potentially for the near future? Are you thinking about sticking in Legends for a few years, or maybe moving up to a sportsman, or, we threw your name out to be one of those guys in a pro stock someday. Is that an ambition you got?
Well, I would obviously love to run a pro stock someday. I can't think of any kid around the racetrack that wouldn't love that opportunity. The Legend car is already pushing our budget, and we wouldn't be able to do it without all the support we get from our sponsors. So no, I'd like to stay in the sport as long as I can. I know with school next year, it's going to be probably a little bit harder to find time to work on the car, but I want to do everything I can to try to stay in the sport. And if I'm able to move up through the ranks, then I'd be more than happy to.
What are you doing for school next year, if you don't mind me asking?
That's another topic that I need to figure out pretty soon.
So you just know you're going. You don't know what you're doing.
Well, I got accepted already, but I don't know. I just really need to make sure that it's what I want to do, or if not, I might take a year off from work. But I don't know. It's one of those tough decisions that I'm gonna have to come to a decision here pretty soon.
So we've had a little dirt racing talk. Tom Stewart mentioned about maybe Dylan Blenkhorn coming to Valley Raceway. You've been there with the Langell boys in the pits. Are we going to get you in one of those 4-cylinder cars this year, maybe, if we race?
I'd love to. I actually ran.
You
one
did.
Race
That's right. You did race. How did you? You know what? That's almost 2 years ago. How did you find Valley Raceway at that time? Was it Nathan's car you got in the number 3? Okay, how was that for you?
It was a blast. Slipping and sliding on the dirt. A lot of those guys down there have really got it figured out, and I wasn't that quick the first time. I think my feature race only lasted 2 or 3 laps until I hit the infield tires. But it was definitely a big switch from asphalt racing. But it was really fun, and I'd love to get the opportunity to do it again sometime.
What other racetracks are you eyeballing for the year, whether it's with the tour or just doing one-offs? Would you think about going to Oyster Bed or going up to Sydney? I know that the tours are going there. What tracks are you going to check off this summer if everything works out well?
Ideally, I'd like to at least get to each racetrack once. I think the Legend Tour stops at everyone around here. So if we were able to run the Legend Tour next year, I'd love to go to all the Maritime tracks. I love PEI. That's a fun racetrack. I got my first weekly win there 2 years ago when we ran there, but unfortunately last year we weren't able to race there. So I'm excited to get back on that racetrack. I'd like to get up to 660 again. I love that racetrack. And then Andy Ganesh, I really missed that racetrack last year too. That's always a fun one. And like we were talking about earlier, Sydney, I can't wait to get back to Sydney. So there's a lot of places I'd like to run this year, and hopefully it all works out.
What about mini stock racing? I know sometimes guys go from legend to mini stock, but I know that sometimes the transition's more legend to sportsman. Would you think about dabbling in a mini stock since they go to pretty much every single track in the Maritimes?
Dylan, I offered that trade one time. I'm just letting everybody know. I offered that trade up, a mini stock for his legend car, and it was a no-go, but I'll let him answer now.
Yeah, Greg's been bugging me for a little bit now. He wanted to get me into a mini stock. They look like a blast. I'd love to try one sometime. It's pretty competitive too. There's a lot of good close racing in the mini stock division, and it looks like they have a lot of fun out there. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Me, Dad, and Perry talked about getting a mini stock together at one point, but no, I think it looks like a hoot, and I'd love to try it sometime. But yeah, Greg's been nagging me to try his car sometime. So.
What's your sales pitch to someone if they have an open mini stock? I know Greg Dow's got a couple laying around in Sydney Speedway. What's the sales pitch for Sammy to get in a mini stock?
I don't know. If someone has a mini stock out there, they'd like me to drive. I'd be more than happy to, and I'd drive it to win it. I'd love to get out there and run close to some of those guys, and you can do a little bit of a rubbing in the mini stock class. It seems like more so than any of the other classes. So. No, I'd love to hop in one sometime, and yeah, we'd be going for the win.
I know you're busy outside of the race car. How's the hockey season gone for you?
Hockey this year was cut short due to COVID again, but we ended the year off pretty good. We ended up winning the regional banner, so we had a pretty good year. We weren't allowed to do tournaments or anything like that, so that kind of sucked a little bit, but other than that, we had a pretty good year actually. We had quite a few wins, and then finish it off a good way.
Now, I've got a question for you that I'm sure is going to bring in Craig Rogers into the video, so I'm sure he's going to be prepared here in a second when he hears this. But we had Barry Richard on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's been kind of egging about. He's got a couple of extra demo cars in Miramichi. When we had Riley Goodwin on, we asked the question who would win in a race between himself and Bob. Now, Craig does some snowmobile racing. I know it's mostly straight line stuff, but if we had a couple of demo cars, we put you on a racetrack, who's going to win, you or your dad?
Oh, I'm taking the win 100%. I always tease Dad about that. He says that he would always beat me, but I always tease him that he only has to go in a straight line. He doesn't have to make the corner. So no, I think that'd be a blast to do sometime, but I think I'd be getting the upper hand.
Okay, bring him on so he can actually rebuttal on this, because we didn't at least get Bob Goodwin on to do this when Riley was on the show. Tell him to come over here.
Dad, come here.
I hope you got a couple hours left in your show, Tim, because this could take some time.
We've got a few minutes left, so we saved a little bit at the end.
We want Craig Chan to start it online, and so.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
We knew this was going to happen at some point. Oh, okay, Craig. Who's going to win in a race, you or Sam?
Just tell him not to show us his foot.
Oh, okay. Craig, who's going to win in a race, you or Sam?
You guys don't diss snowmobile racing. Like, I mean, it's been 3 weeks, so I'm still, he's got 20 stitches here. That was going in a straight line. So, I mean, snowmobile racing is really dangerous than car racing. I will say that. We have no roll cage.
It sounds like you're diverging from the question, though. Would you be able to beat Sam head on in a race?
If I start ahead of him, I will win. I can start ahead of him.
So is it
That's
like
all
a
I'll say.
half lap or is it a quarter lap?
It doesn't matter, Tim. As long as I start ahead of him, I will win, but I have to start ahead of him.
I know you're proud of Sam. What
Yeah.
can you say about the last couple of years watching Sam progress from a Bandolero all the way up to a legend car?
Well, like I say, fellow South, a tough guy. I've broken down on some wins. You've seen that yourself at the Bandolero Blast. Coming from no experience myself, and I will say Sam's ran pretty limited gear for what we haven't had the best of gear. He's hand-me-downs for helmets and suits until last year. He still has the helmet he's wearing up to last year. He got his second year Bando racing. So we're due for a new helmet. Very proud of him, his skill, talent, really proud of his misdemeanor around the track. As you know, he's very fortunate not to have my excitement, I suppose, I would say, behind the wheel. And that's proven, I think that's a big key to his success. He's made some great friends. The one thing about racing, the racing family, the friends he has made and the bonds and the friends that I have made is something I never, 5 years ago, Tim, I'd never dreamt to know the amount of people and friends that we have. Craig Lanzo has been a great mentor to us from the Bandos up into the Legends and not so much like I try to learn, but him and Sam, like he's taught, the coaching is incredible. And Craig saw some talent, saw some skill, really enjoying it.
You mentioned the Bando Blast. I know you've had some trips down south. What are the most memorable moments in the last few years chasing races with Sam?
Winter Nationals was always something I've heard about when we get into our very first year. But again, that was something we thought would be like going to Disney World, a dream, like going to Florida to race. Thought it would never happen. It materialized. As you said, the first trip was with Woody. It was a blast. Woody was a hoot. A lot of fun, no pressure. Then we got a little bit more competitive and we started going down on our own. And the people that you meet down there, the atmosphere, and you and I played cornhole there one night. I thought we were doing all right for a while there, Tim. I don't know.
We got beat by Broncos.
I think it was the tainted water.
Something like that.
So it's astray. But that whole experience in itself is just amazing. And then going like to a NASCAR race or the World of Outlaws over in Volusia and seeing celebrity race car drivers, that in itself was, up and above. I'd recommend that to anyone if they can make that trip. As far as experience, 5 years of racing is over half a season of experience those kids gain. It's unreal when they go down there for a week and come back here. And then the local tracks here, amazing weekends. And we started, at first, we never ever camped overnight at a track. We traveled. We found got ourselves a little truck camper, and it's amazing. I don't know if any one experience stands out. It's a lot of fun.
There's another guy floating around there. How important is it to have Perry Murphy on the crew? Because Perry's been involved in racing for so many years. How vital is Perry to the crew? Well, Perry's the one that really, as Sam mentioned earlier, I won't regurgitate this all up, but Perry's the one that got Sam into racing. Took him to Perry always followed NASCAR. Sam as a 5-year-old, he knew every NASCAR driver on the track. So he's the one that got him into it. He's the one that did all the body work on the car. He's made all his setup tools. He very crafty, very knacky, and Perry just loves it. And one thing Perry realized himself, and another longtime guy, Lyman Higgins, who's almost 80 now, was Wayne Smith's idol. For years, he used to watch Wayne Smith when Wayne first started racing, was that when he started coming into the pits because of us racing, Sam and Perry, although they went to races for 30, 40 years, they've learned more in the last 5 or 6 about the actual racing community and what have you, being on that other side of the fence, like in the pits. So, and Perry, it just really gave him, is awesome. And I liked it because we were able to, the only thing we could pay Perry back by was showing him these venues. And Perry came to Florida with us, came down to Winter Nationals. He saw that venue. So that really makes me feel great to offer that back. I know he was walking around back there. I don't know if we can get him on camera, but we'll go with Greg. Last call on social. Do you have anything for Craig or Sam? Because I know there's some Craig fans that are watching right now.
Yeah, the Craig fans have come up.
When you called me up, Perry bolted, by the way.
Is that what it was? Okay.
That's right, Craig. You might have to go pick him up in an hour after he runs over a raccoon or something.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot going on social for Craig. It was just everybody just wanted to hear him speak. There wasn't a lot of questions for him. But
I figured we'd break Facebook if we had Craig on here. So
it might be broken. That's why there's nothing coming up. It could be.
That might be it.
Yeah.
So last call on social. Drop some questions. Drop some comments. We're getting close to the end. Dylan, you got anything else over there?
It's kind of like with Dylan Blenkhorn. Sam, I'm just excited to get back to the track. Is there any event in particular with the Legends? And I guess usually the Legends are on the undercard for some bigger events. What event would you say you're looking forward to the most? Is it just the first race of the year, or maybe the 250 weekend, Antigonish, or the Speed weekend? What is it?
There's definitely a couple big ones I'm looking forward to this year, but I'm really looking forward to getting back to Antigonish for the IWK 250 weekend. We missed out on that last year due to COVID, and it's just a great weekend. You go down Wednesday night and practice, and you camp out till Friday. We usually get a very large car count for the Legend Tour race there, and it's great. And then after we're done racing Friday, you get to hang out and then watch the big race Saturday. So I'm really excited for that weekend to come up. The 50-lap Legend race that Friday too, so it'd be a nice one to win for sure.
You mentioned sponsors, you mentioned crew. You don't do this alone. Who makes it happen for you?
No, we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of support from a lot of great people, and it's the only reason I still get to do this today. I'd like to give a big thanks to Maritime Car Wash, CKG Elevator, High Tech Mechanical, Shetty Camp Outback Inn, Dalton Industries, Cullen Construction, Perry Murphy, and my dad for all the stuff that they've done for me on and off the racetrack.
This has been great catching up. Thanks for giving us an opportunity, and get that car ready, and we'll see you in it's a couple of weeks' time at the racetrack. Thanks for joining us, Sam.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
Once again, that's Sam Rogers, driver of the number 12, and we'd like to thank Sam for coming on board here this evening, and we'll bring Mr. McKay on one more time to close out our show. And Greg, that was fun. I know you were a little bit easier on social tonight, but Dylan Blenkhorn, Sam Rogers, I keep saying I don't know how we're going to top it, but I don't know how we're going to top this one.
That was good. It's a fun show. I like coming on here Monday nights and hanging out with you. It's be an exciting season coming up, especially seeing what the races that Dylan's going to do. Maybe you'll see him and Sam do a similar schedule to get them both at the same time. You never know.
Two talents from the Colchester area, Truro area, and doing the area proud. Dylan, another great show coming up next week. It's the Bubble Day, we hope, April 19th. We'll do some preview of the icebreaker. Denver, I think, is going to be back as well. So obviously he's got a team. I don't know how it's going to do next week, but that'll be fun to see. But what are you looking forward to here? We're getting close to the racing season.
Well, I'm looking forward to, getting back to Valley Raceway. Had the meeting yesterday to go over some stuff, and still some I's to dot and T's to cross. Riverside. I just want the darn bubble to come back so we can really start planning more stuff. I mean, selfishly for myself, I'm probably going to race in the demo event on May 15th at Speedway Miramichi. So selfishly, I want to race. So I want the Atlantic bubble to come back. But I know any fans that are watching, any teams, it's a little stressful right now because, who knows if they call an audible by the end of the week and say, well, we're going to push the bubble back a bit. That throws a wrench in many people's plans, not even just for doing racing like yourself, Tim. Maybe the family wanted to go to IHOP in Moncton. And there's just all kinds of stuff that can be up in the air. So we need the bubble to come back. Hopefully things stay steady with our cases. To be honest, I think it's New Brunswick. I think it's on New Brunswick at this point. Everywhere else seems to be somewhat tame. So we're hoping for the best.
We wait and see. I know we started planning for the first 2 weeks of the season. We're still trying to get our final TV schedule together. It's coming together. It's close. We're just waiting on a couple of T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted. So it's going to be a fun season once we get it together. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you to our guests, Dylan Blenkhorn and Sam Rogers, Paul Strickland Jr. from Verdane TV. Thank you to all our partners that are on the screen right now. If you want to see some racing, we got the Trans-Service Cup Series coming up on Verdane TV. Big week for TCM. Wednesday night, it's going to be the All-Star Open or the Showcase Open for the non-winners that we had on our TCM special event season for iRacing. And then on Thursday, the Eastbound 35. And then we got the Showcase, the season finale. Somebody's going to win some money. It's going to be great. We're going to close off that season and then pivot towards next week. TCM Live coming up next week on Monday, April 19th. Stay tuned for a guest lineup. On behalf of everybody here at TCM, my name is Tim Terry. We will see you on Monday night, next Monday night, when we say let's go racing and throw the green flag on this TCM Live show. Tune in Wednesday and Thursday for the iRacing finale for us. Until then, keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.